So you're getting goats. What should you put in your goat first aid kit or to have in your goat medicine cabinet at the ready just in case of emergencies? I'm going to show you what I've accumulated over 3 years of having goats. The longer you have goats, the more you're going to accumulate. And so here is just a few things that I would recommend having on hand in case of emergencies if you need to do some first aid for your goats. For me, the biggest lifesaver that I've had for my goats is having penicillin G antibiotics on hand. My goat got listeriosis, and had I not given her an injection of antibiotics when I noticed the symptoms, we definitely could have lost her, because early intervention with antibiotics is crucial to surviving listeriosis. I made a whole video about that and how she survived listeriosis. So having a bottle of antibiotics on hand is definitely something I would strongly recommend. I was able to get this over the counter at Tractor Supply. It does have to be kept refrigerated, so I do keep this in my refrigerator on hand in case of emergency. In order to give this, you do need to have syringes and needles on hand as well. So I do keep an assortment of needles and syringes. So this size here is a 3 ml syringe. So I use this for injectables for the goats, but I do also keep on hand different size needles as well. So this is a 20 gauge needle. These 3cc syringes come with a 22 gauge needle, but I also keep on hand a larger needle, a 20 gauge as well, and then a 25 gauge needle. So I like to have options just in case. Having different syringe sizes is good too. These are 6 ml syringes as opposed to the 3 ml syringes, so you never know what you're gonna need, so good to have different sizes. I got some of the different size syringes through my goat's veterinarian when my goat was sick, but then I did go online and I ordered a box of my own syringes and a box of my own needles so that I would have them on hand in bulk for the next emergency. So with any animal, including goats, wound care is something that you're going to want to be familiar with. So for my goats, what I use for wound care is povidone iodine. So this, I will dilute this down with warm water till it's like a light tea color, and then I'll use that to clean the wound, and that helps because it's a first aid antiseptic. So this will help to flush out the wound to help prevent infections. So I'll just wash the wound out with this, and then I will dry the wound, and then I will put either a first aid antibiotic ointment on top. If it's just a minor cut or abrasion, I'll put a thin layer of this on. If it looks like it needs something stronger than that, I will use Blue Coat, which is a germicidal fungicidal spray. Now this, the label does not say it's for goats. It says for horses and dogs. This is something that I use off label for my chickens and my goats, and I just find that it works really well. However, I am not a vet, so use at your own discretion. But with any of these first aid products, you do want to make sure that your goat is not getting curious and trying to lick it off. It's not going to help the wound if they lick it off, and it's not great for them to ingest. Speaking of ingesting, I will use cotton balls to clean wounds because of their absorbent nature, and I can squeeze some of the iodine solution into the wound. However, goats are very quick. They, for whatever reason, love to eat cotton balls, and they'll dive for them. They just think they look delicious. So keep that in mind when you're using cotton balls too. Keep them out of the reach of the goat in a container that they can't actually get to the cotton balls, and any dirty cotton balls you're going to want to put out of the goat's reach. I have a shelf in my goat shed, so I put everything up on top where they can't reach it and just pull down what I need as I'm using it, put everything right back on top because they are so fast and they will grab things quickly. If you do find that you have to give an injection to your goat, I do like to have on hand isopropyl alcohol. So you can either use the cotton balls with some alcohol on it to clean the area that you're about to give the injection, or you can use alcohol prep pads to clean the area. Before giving any injections, I do use the alcohol prep pads or a cotton ball with alcohol on it to wipe the top where the syringe is going to go in. New syringes are going to be sterile, new needles will be sterile as well, but your bottle, if you've used it repeatedly, the top of it, even with the plastic cap, it is best to just give it a quick swipe with an alcohol wipe to make sure that's sterile as well before you inject a needle into it. Other injectables I've used for my goats would be vitamin B complex. Vitamin B is an important vitamin for goats, so when Amelia Bedelia was really sick, this was something that I was administering to her every day. So this I was using at a veterinarian's discretion, but it's definitely something that I continue to keep on hand so that I have it in case my goat is sick again and the veterinarian recommends giving it. Now if your goat gets sick, you're going to want to check their temperature and see if they're running a fever. So I keep a thermometer as well as some general lube on hand so that I can check their rectal temperature, and so that'll give me a better idea if they are indeed sick and how high their temperature is in that case. Having gloves on hand is great too when you're dealing with wound care, or if you were to deliver a baby goat, always good to have gloves. I also keep these OB shoulder length gloves on hand as well. Haven't had to use them thankfully, but this would be in case I needed to assist in the delivery of a goat kid. Now when Fancy Nancy got pregnant, I added some new things to my goat medicine cabinet. While she was pregnant, it was recommended to supplement her with selenium and vitamin E gel. Now this is going to depend on where you live and if your soil has selenium, so this is something that you'll want to consult with your veterinarian about whether it's necessary while they are pregnant. I also have Jumpstart Plus. So this was another thing that I wanted to have on hand when Fancy Nancy was going to be giving birth, because giving birth can be really tiring for goats, and so if she was having multiples and she got tired, this would give her a boost of vitamins and minerals that can help her to push through the rest of her labor. So I didn't have to use it, but I had it on hand just in case. Probiotics are another thing that is great to have on hand. So if you do have to give your goat antibiotics, that can do a number on their rumen, and so giving them probiotics after their course of antibiotics can really help them. But it also can come in handy to help them out in times of stress. If they've recently traveled, it can also be used with baby goats. So this is something that I gave to my baby goats when they were born, and that just helps get that rumen started on the right track. And I also gave it to Fancy Nancy after she gave birth, and that was also to help her out. Oh, and molasses is actually another good thing to have on hand. So the last time I used this was when Fancy Nancy kidded, and she was certainly tired after giving birth. So I just added molasses to some warm water, and that really just gave her that extra boost and perked her up, and that was really helpful. You can also use some molasses if they're not feeling well to encourage them to eat. So I do like to keep this on hand. Oh, and I don't have it here because I actually used it up when Amelia Bedelia was sick, but Nutri-Drench actually really helped her, and that has vitamins and minerals in there for them that can really make them feel better. So that is something I would recommend to have too. And that is something that I'm going to reorder to add to my goat medicine kit. Clippers are also really good to have on hand in case of a wound on your goat. So it is nice to be able to take some clippers and clip around the wound, so that way you can really give it a good cleaning and get the medicine directly on the wound. So I do like to have little clippers on hand. Alright, and then the last thing that I keep on hand is dewormer. So parasites are really common. Typically I will have my veterinarian check a fecal twice a year, usually fall and spring when she comes out to do their vaccinations and checkups. If the fecal were to show that they had parasites that needed to be treated, the veterinarian then gets me the correct dewormer for the particular parasites they are carrying. However, I do like to keep some dewormer on hand in between vet visits just in case my goats need it. So that's everything that I keep on hand for my goats, and most of these supplies I get through Tractor Supply or my local feed store, Bay State Pet and Garden. I'll order off Amazon as well as jefferspet.com for certain items. These are some ideas for things that you may want to have on hand. I will link them down in the description below, that way you can see the actual products that I have here, and that way you can be prepared in case your goat has a wound or an emergency situation like my Amelia Bedelia. It's better to be prepared, and that way a very stressful situation could be just a little less stressful. And if you're new to goats, I would highly recommend watching our goat care playlist. It's got lots of great information about raising goats. And if you haven't started your farm yet, what are you waiting for? Get your farm on.
1, 2, 3, 4. Do you want to farm? A wicked awesome farm. Watch this channel to learn what to do. We love to farm and we'll show you. Yeah, welcome to our show. Whoa. Just watch.